I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. What has caught your attention in the automotive world? A big headline this week.
Yeah, Ford issued a do not drive. We've heard of do not drives before from other manufacturers, and do not
Ford.
drive means we've got, second one for Ford, we got a dangerous situation.
What is the dangerous situation? I have not heard about this yet.
Well, you're going to be disappointed.
I am.
Yeah.
Is it for my Bronco?
No.
Oh.
No, over 765,000 cars and trucks. Almost half of those are in the United States. Ford Rangers, Mustangs, Fusion, Edge, Lincoln MKZ, and some others.
What would you think that this recall is for that is not exciting? And it's very relevant, but it's not exciting.
Sitting here right now, I've had enough airbag recalls.
That's it.
Yep.
It's Takata airbags.
Do not drive. So far, over 27 people have been killed by flying shrapnel.
Let me back up here for a second. Like I said, I've been kind of out of the news here for a little bit, getting back in the groove of things here. So they're saying that many vehicles are getting a do not drive issue? Normally it's like 150 when they do that, or they've got a small dose they know about.
Can you drive? Yes. Are they advising you not to because in the event of a crash, could you be killed because your airbag went off? Yes. So they're saying we know that, we've got more than 25 people, which is a lot. Before, with some of the early ones, we were like, 2 people have been killed, is what they were saying. And that's, anybody killed is a huge number.
Exactly.
But they were saying,
we had one last week that was a recall and a do not drive, but no one had been injured.
Right.
But it was a situation.
But now that they, the NTSB has said, our National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has said that we have had, confirmed deaths because of airbags, 25 plus for these models. It's time to issue a stop drive, get them fixed. The dealer, Ford, the manufacturer, says they have parts in stock. They can either come to you to put them in, or you can bring the car in, but you need to park the car. I cannot really realistically see 500,000 people in the United States saying, well, I'm just not going to drive my car today.
What's the model? Is there a specific model range and
year? We're looking at like 04 to 06 Ranger trucks. Still a lot of those on the road, but
that
a lot
Ranger
less.
truck has been on that list for a long time.
Yep, and some of these have already been done before, so we're in the second, sometimes third airbag. I know, Chris, you've had several in one car. 05 to 14 Mustangs. That is a ton of Mustangs.
That's a lot.
05 and 06 Ford GTs. Not going to be nearly as many Ford GTs on the road, but here's the big one.
F-150s?
Well, the couple here that are going to be huge for people that we see every day. 06 to 12 Ford Fusion, Mercury Milan, Lincoln MKZ, and Zephyrs. There are a lot of those.
A lot of Fusions.
We've got those in our shop right now. 7 to 10 Ford Edge and Lincoln MKX. There's a lot of those out there. And then, of course, the 7 to 11 Rangers. There's a lot of those. Ford is urging you to park your vehicle and stop driving it. They're trying to contact the customers. They've initiated 121 different outreach efforts, including letters, emails, phone calls, text messages, home visits.
We've brought this up before, but imagine the bureaucracy involved in just handling that.
Just that.
I mean, we get to be on the receiving end of this as an auto dismantler because we have to pull these out of our network, and most of the time the manufacturer wants them back, and they'll often have a bounty on them to get them back to make sure they don't end up in second life. And so it's something we pay close attention to also. But yeah, Ford has been going out mobile and doing a lot of this right in your driveway. Well, they'll come out and replace your airbag right in your driveway. That's quite a list. That's one of the bigger ones for sure.
It's like a landmine. So when these things go off, things can break off inside of that inflator module and just be shot at you. And you're just, it's a crapshoot. Do you get hit? Do you not get hit? Does anything happen? You don't know. I know my mom had wrecked her Honda and the airbags did not go off, and it was a front end from the side. A motorcycle hit her from the side as she pulled out, and the airbags didn't go off, luckily, because when the body shop was working on it, they said, hey, when we're done with this, it needs to be towed over to Honda for the airbag recall, for the inflator having shrapnel from it. It's just crazy to think that. So there's very few airbag companies out there, but to think that this could go on and on this long. At what point, realistically, does somebody just say, "Hey, Takata, if you made an airbag for a car, you need to build a better one and put it in there before it's recalled because it's got to be bad"?
Well, it appears to me that strategy for many of these manufacturers must have been to litigate, delay, stretch, and so that the fleet could age.
It's been 10 years, hasn't it?
So that as the
this
fleet
has been going on?
as the fleet ages,
easily, I think.
then they have.
I got some here from 2010.
Then they have less responsibility because the cars have been scrapped.
Yeah, 2004. That's 20 years old right there. So we're going back a long way.
I wonder. I have two questions. One we should not answer. One is it?
But you're going to ask it anyway.
I'm going to ask the question, but I don't want you guys to answer it. This first one is it going to get worse because maybe they have a shelf life? Like they're like, oh, those airbags are good, and then they find out that, oh no, once they get to be 18 years old, they also create their own shrapnel and come apart. And are we going to be seeing this continuing forever?
Don't answer that question.
No, that one you can't.
Oh, okay.
We can tell you from cars we see we have an auto recycling business, if you don't know, and it's big enough. We see thousands of cars, and of those cars, we do have some that are 20 years old that the airbags get deployed in. These are the same cars that if they're in hot climates, or even our climate where it's hot in the summer and freezing cold in the winter, dashboards flake apart, pieces come off, airbags go off. The covers are usually airbags, when we see them torn and open, the cover is intact. It'll be torn, even though the dash is maybe splintered all over because it's old and broken from people touching it or washing it or whatever. That airbag cover usually just rips and it's in one piece. Wouldn't you say so, Shannon? It looks like it's there. Occasionally, you'll see a cracked steering wheel and broken horn buttons, but that airbag just splits down the middle. And we'll see cars from the early 90s with airbags that have still come in here, and I'm surprised they even fired after that long.
I've got that 06 Range Rover that we've fixed up, and the dash is cracked around the airbag on the passenger side, but the airbag area itself is still intact.
Yeah, I mean, we've got cars in here 30 years old that have airbags going off from like 94, 95.
Are they going to make, or have they started making them service items, like after X amount of years it has to be replaced?
They have never done that before on regularity. I did remember taking note, it's been a number of years ago, that I saw it was a Mercedes of some sort, and there was a sticker on the pillar that said something about an age where the airbags should be inspected and potentially replaced.
I've seen a lot of the inspection stickers on vehicles and stuff, but I've not seen a mandatory replacement yet.
Yeah.
But I don't know how long. An airbag has a charge in it, and it's mostly sealed up. We know if they go in the water, they'll absorb. The inflator won't work if it gets full of water. But I just don't know how long that charge would last. You think it'd be similar to you got a bottle rocket or a firecracker. When we were kids, we had some that sat in the drawer for 5 or 6 years, and they just didn't work. They just kind of went. Phew.
We've actually tested some that have been deployed them here as part of the process, and they've been very old. We've had ones that have been in floods. They've all deployed. Our trade association did a test way back on a bunch of airbags, to prove viability of one taken out of a car, and they all worked. The one that had been in the water worked slow, but it still worked. I wouldn't recommend using it. It would have been certifiable, but it was. They all worked.
Martin, we're going to talk to you in just a second. We have to take a break. All right, here's the question I don't want you guys to answer. Do you think that they're discovering that these airbags, like going back 20 years now they're going back to an 04 Ford and saying, oh no, these are bad too? Or is someone aware and they're being discovered? Do you know what I mean?
Don't know.
I made a comment similar to that earlier. If you
Time to move on.
Yeah. Like, are they going, oh no, those two? Or they're going, oh no, they found those two? All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
never ever use your tongue to see if your car battery is good. Seriously, we mean it. This is Under the Hood.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Nebraska and talk to Martin. You're on the Under the Hood show. Martin, what can we do for you?
Yes, I have a 2012 Nissan Sentra, and I'm not used to these small vehicles with a small engine and transmission. How often do I need to have that transmission serviced?
It's a long time on the Nissans. Like other cars, depending on the type of transmission you have is what's going to determine it. When you've got a CVT transmission that doesn't change gears, they've got different ratings on them. You've got to see what the service manual says. Some of them will say 30,000 miles, and it's a drain and fill. No flush on those at all, or you'll damage them. And then there's some that have gears in them, 4, 5, 6, 8 speeds. Those transmissions are typically much longer, in the 80 to 90,000, 100,000 range is what we see shops recommend.
Okay,
but
mine's got that automatic. I believe it's a 2-speed.
Yeah, it's a CVT. Then if you've got an automatic that doesn't change gears, if it just says drive and D&M on the shifter and there's no button for it, then it's just a.
Well, it's got a low gear and drive.
Yep.
And then it's got a button on the side of the
shifter for sport mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a CVT. So that's going to have a different change interval for it. A lot of those are 30,000 mile drain and fill. Some of them are a little longer, but it doesn't hurt to change them earlier like that, drain and fill, especially if you're going 5 years or so in between changes.
CVT is a constantly variable transmission, and so it's not the typical torque converter, gear set, pressure between the gears, shifting gears. It's more along the lines of if you can imagine like a go-kart or a snowmobile, clutch belt system is more. It's more like that inside.
That was not helpful to me at all.
It wasn't.
Nope.
Just a centrifugal force belt grabbing as things expand. It's got drums in it.
I think of it as a big screw that gets small on one end and big on the other. That's the only way I can.
That's good for me.
Yeah,
yeah.
That
kind of works.
Have you ever looked at at the drive on a self-propelled mower, Chris? You ever had to clean the grass out of one? You got a little rubber wheel.
I might not have recognized it.
So the little rubber wheel, if it's on the outside, it's spinning at, let's say, 500 RPM. It takes a long time to turn the big disc around, like a record. If you look at a record on a record player,
there you go.
If you take a wheel, the side of a skateboard wheel, and you put it on the outside of the record and you turn it at 500 RPM or 5 miles an hour, whatever you want, it takes a long time to get that record to go all the way around. But the further you move it towards the center,
all right,
it varies, constantly varying. Yeah. The closer to the center, the faster that wheel spins. You have less torque because you're on a smaller spot, but it spins it faster. Same kind of principle with a CVT, the way it kind of operates in there. And different ones will do different things, but you're varying it. That's how you're varying the speed. So yeah, you've got to change it because you have wear items in there, and eventually they'll wear out.
And very specific fluid. I mean, they're gonna recommend a Nissan only fluid typically on those.
Martin, do you know how many miles are on it?
It's got about 138,000 on it.
Yeah, that's probably well overdue for a change if it hasn't been done.
Have you had it the whole time?
No, I've had it about a year and a half.
We got some customers every 50,000 we're doing on theirs.
So if Martin brings it into you could check to see if there's any record service of it.
Could try, yeah.
Yeah, and
Carfax or something.
Then what would you do? Would you check? Would you just do it automatically?
I'd do it if the fluid wasn't completely just horribly burnt, like I was scared the transmission was going to go out. I'd drain and fill it.
So in that event, it's kind of the same as a regular.
Yeah, then you just leave it.
Okay.
But yeah, if it looks like it's serviceable, we'd go ahead and drain and fill it.
Does that help you out there, Martin?
Yeah.
How do you like it otherwise?
Oh, I love it.
That is, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That is when you like a car, that's a good feeling.
Yeah,
I
Isn't
still
it?
remember Chris telling me it was about 2012 when he says, "Yeah, we went out to Disney and me and my wife and we were driving with the kids and I got in this car and the darn thing. He's like, I took off and it just went. And he's like, one speed. I was like, what's going on there? Is it broke? And it was a brand new car.
It was a brand new Cobalt.
And I said, no, it's just the way one speed.
Yeah. It was fine, but I noticed it enough to go, oh, I don't know if I like this. It turned out fine. I watched just recently. I watched a video animation of a new automatic transmission. It wasn't completely like groundbreaking, but it was the new model. You know that now it was like a ZF10 or whatever it was. And I watched this cutaway animation, and it showed how it works. Worse than I understand it less now than I did before that. It was ridiculous, the stuff that goes on inside that transmission.
There's a lot of opportunity for error.
Holy moly, it was crazy. It
a lot of
looked
electronics, a lot of valves.
MC Escher painting animation of the staircases that turn into each other. It was more confusing than anything. I was just like, it's none of it's real.
I just saw the headline, did not click on the article, but Lamborghini just had a breakthrough in technology, they said, and they have a dual clutch transverse transmission for one of their cars. So I don't even want to begin to figure that out, how they got that set up. But they've got that as a Lamborghini breakthrough just recently that I saw in a headline, but I did not dig into it.
And transverse means it sits sideways, not just a
technology
drive shaft.
just goes up and up and up and up, and then you got like the rockets that SpaceX has. You look at their new engine compared to their last version engine. It's like, where'd all the stuff go? They're finding ways to put less parts on it. They say less parts, less breakage. Why are we not doing that in the automotive world? Let's do less parts with some kind of better technology and have less breakage. No, we got to keep adding stuff. You look under the hood today and you're like, no.
What the heck?
Another one that I saw was another Lamborghini one was, I'm not looking at Lamborghinis, but I'm getting their stuff. They had a Countach. Is that how you say it? Countach?
That's how I say it.
I always worried that I say it wrong.
Yep. That's the way Jay Leno said it, so I'm going with him.
Okay, all right. But they were talking about how they got the different displacement of the engine in that car. They used they said cheap technology. They used an existing Lamborghini engine that was smaller displacement, and they added steel plates on top of the cylinder head deck between the cylinders and the head
to make more displacement.
And so they were
and then a longer stroke.
Yep, and the different rods and so they if you look at it, it's got probably a 3/8 inch or so steel plate between the head and the block, and that's how they got the bigger displacement on that engine.
Let's talk to Austin. You're on the Under the Hood show. Austin, what can we do for you?
Yeah, so I called in a couple of weeks ago about a Chevy Cruze with the turbo issue, and
I remember.
Went really well, and the old turbo did spin really, really rough. So I'm confident that was an issue. So yeah, everything I made darn sure that I lubricated that turbo when I put it together. I actually disconnected the ignition and ran the engine over.
Good
and
idea.
Watched oil come out of the drain and put everything back together, torqued it all up, and ran it for about 400 miles. And kind of noticed, like, on the highway, it runs fine, but when you're in traffic or something like that, and you need the most power, just kind of sluggish. And so I started looking around because I power washed the entire engine bay really well. And I looked around and I could see a little bit of oil residue coming from the kind of up by the throttle body.
Right.
So I took that air pipe, that's the charged air coming there.
Yep.
And there was some oil in there. And so I'm just thinking that has to be coming from the turbo. But then the more I'm thinking about it, what do you know about the PCV valves, that pressurized crank ventilation?
Those
Would
valves.
there be a way?
Yeah, those valves can have problems. We're going to have to come back after the break and
let's
talk
take a
about
break.
this more.
I have a couple thoughts here, but
Yeah.
let's come back after the break on this, Austin.
We're going to take a break, Austin. You stay where you are. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us. You can be up after Austin. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
My car does that thing. You know, that thing. Under the Hood has the answer you're looking for.
866-594-4150. Don't forget, you can watch the Under the Hood Show on our YouTube channel. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Jerry Kraft, congratulations from all of us here on the Hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute. And remember Berkeley One Classics, celebrating 50 years of protecting your classic and collector car. So, technicians, they're still needed. I still get, every once in a while, you get somebody looking for a tech job, and they just call, and I'm surprised how they just say, "Yo, you got any jobs open?" I'm like, probably not a Universal Technical Institute graduate. I can picture, if you get a guy from Universal Technical Institute, they might call and say something like, "Hi, I'm Jerry. I'm a graduate of Universal Technical Institute, and I am pursuing a career in automotive. Do you have anything open at this point?" "Oh, well, you're starting off well. Come on in. Let's talk." "You got any jobs open?" "Oh, well, we might be hiring." "Well, how much do you pay?" That's usually what you hear.
And if a professional automotive tech thinks you're being short and unsocial, that's huge, right? I mean, if you guys recognize it, that's way over.
I think we'll just leave it where Russ left it.
Yeah. So check them out, UTI.edu. And one correction, it was a Dodge Caliber.
Well, I wondered when you said that because my brain was thinking they do not make a Cobalt with a CVT.
We're just giving you that look like.
Maybe that's why I was so bad.
Yeah, I was thinking, Chris, did you take it out of first gear?
You guys know, we're talking about rental cars. What do I do? Whenever I fly somewhere and I have to get a rental car, I've got to choose something different I've never driven just to find out how cool it is, right?
You check in the spare tire to see if there's anything in it.
No, they don't. Okay. Most of them don't have them, but they've become so lame now with your choices. It's horrible. After COVID, when we had all the rental car stuff where they were selling a lot of cars because they couldn't rent them, they weren't renting, then they bought a bunch back. Their fun factor is right in the toilet.
I just ask if they have, is it infested with cockroaches?
If
not, I'm good.
I was thinking maybe something like that, Chris, that, get a Turo or, because the cars, it's like your choices are, they were like, do you want a plain Hyundai, the base model? Do you want the base model Volkswagen? Do you want the base model Nissan Sentra? Like, what happened to the cool cars? And only in a few of the really big areas like Atlanta, Dallas, New York.
Now we saw
LA,
some unique things at the
cool stuff
in Arizona when we were down there.
But the regular
Enterprise
airports,
Elite,
nothing. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Let's go back to Austin. Austin, so where did we leave off with Austin, Russ?
Him asking about the positive crankcase ventilation.
And it may be positive that it's dumping oil into the engine, or the turbo tubes could be full of oil from the old turbo, which could take some time to blow out of there.
That's what we were talking. The residual oil is a possibility.
Yep. And the other thing,
I did take the intercooler out.
Yep.
And I actually swished a bunch of gas around in there, and then I ran soapy water through it, and then I blew it out really, really well.
You went above and beyond.
You looking for a job, Austin?
This is the same guy who bled the turbo and got the oil out of it.
I shouldn't have questioned.
So,
we shouldn't even have asked. He knows this.
We knew.
The power washing the engine bay made me nervous too for a second until I realized Austin probably.
If you go on to Dorman's website, they also make a valve cover for that same car because of
the oil separator has an issue.
Challenges with the positive crankcase vent. And I'd hate to think that the majority of your oil was coming from there. We didn't spend a lot of time on that because you were having performance issues too. But you could have, I suppose, been loading enough oil into that system to affect drivability. But that is definitely, if your cylinders are healthy, if you've done a leak down test and you have...
I did do a compression test. So I took an old spark plug and I brazed a little fitting on there to hook up a gauge. So I dropped that in there, and I was getting like, it seemed to me it was a little low. It was like 75 pounds, on most of the cylinders. Number one was a little bit less. It was like 55 or so. And then I put oil on top of the pistons and then did it again, and they all jumped up, of course.
I am, because I'm serious about this, Austin. If you had a leak down gauge where you could put in there and just see what percentage of cylinder leakage you have, nothing can overcome blow by. If the cylinders are starting to pass by, or if the valves are starting to pass by fluid. But if you're getting oil, it's typically going to be oil rings, piston rings, cylinder scored, something that's causing that cylinder to not seal. And then the PCV, I would get that backwards. Then the PCV system just can't keep up because it's being put under a bath. And that's not a failure of the part. It's just too much to deal with. So you do have to confirm. You do have to confirm that. I would want you confirming that before you would have done the turbo. But
no, the turbo was grinding.
No, but honestly, I feel good about the turbo because that thing spun really hard. I mean, it's tough to spin by hand.
Are you the same Austin that I met at the gas station that has a really cool Chevy truck that you put a big block in?
Oh, I wish. No.
Okay, because I saw you were from our area there, and I was wondering about it because that Austin was a fry cook in a restaurant, and he had converted this truck, and I said, you should really be doing mechanics. I go, call me. But he was more interested in doing it as a hobby and not a career, he told me. But this is a different Austin.
Yeah.
Good idea.
So what is Austin's next step here?
I would probably put the valve cover on it.
If he feels good about the cylinders, if you can get your past self-confident that your engine is healthy, you got to get a valve cover.
Well, the valve cover is an update that's important just for maintenance on those cars. Okay. All the Chevy LS engines, they're all a maintenance item. They just had that's why Dorman makes them and sells thousands and thousands and thousands of them. It's an OE fix that needs to be done because they had issues with them on a lot of the GM cars. Some of the other ones too.
Austin, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Let us know what you find out.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's doing this work himself because it's his labor is his labor is his knuckles, and he's not having to write a check.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Craig. Craig, you're on the Under the Hood show. What can we do for you? Okay, Craig's gone. Craig, now he's there? Okay. Oh, now he's gone. All right, we're going to go.
He's back.
Is he on line one? You want to explain what's going on here? We have a guest in this.
We have the illustrious Alyssa here helping today. Our producer Doug is having an eye procedure done on his other eye. He successfully did one eye here about 3 months ago. So he was literally having to sleep in with one eye open. But now he is getting the other eye done, and so Alyssa's sitting in for him today. So we're getting our hand signals down and our procedures down here, and she is I'm glad she can help us.
Now let's go to Missouri and talk to Craig. You're on the Under the Hood show. Craig, what can we do for you?
Yes, I got two trucks. I got an 02 Silverado 2500 and an 04, both with the 6-liter, and they both have the same problem. They throw the AC belt off. It doesn't stay on. It'll stay on for a while, then you put it under a load and it throws it off. I've changed the tensioners and the belts. Sometimes it'll do it the next day, sometimes it'll be the next month.
If it's throwing the belt and you've got a new belt and a new tensioner, you probably got a broken head gasket or bad head gasket in the compressor. When the head gasket goes,
Chris was like, "Whoa, where are we going here?"
and you can tell that when that head gasket goes bad. They can fail with age. They can fail because you got dirt buildup between the condenser and the radiator and it overheated the AC system, even though the engine didn't overheat. A bad fan clutch, too much charge in the system, even just too much charge in the system by itself without any of the other problems can cause it to fail, even if the head gasket isn't bad. But if you start it up, turn the AC on and watch it, if the tensioner bounces up and down, it's you got a head gasket blown in that thing or too much charge, air in the system. It'll cause that thing to when it turns, if you could imagine turning it by hand instead of turning smooth with a little bit of resistance, it's going to have a tight spot and then an easy spot, and a tight spot and an easy spot as it goes through, and it'll cause that belt to bounce, and then it'll get into a bounce where it pulls the tensioner way down under the load, and then the belt is moving so fast that it has a loose spot in the top and it just flips right off.
Okay.
So it's fine if you're going, it's like if you're driving your car over the whoop-de-doos like on your bike, but then you get going too fast, and like Shannon, when he'd be racing, he'd like going up and down and up and down. Then you go too fast and you go over one and you skip one and you land on the next one.
Yeah.
And then you skip one and then you crash.
And then you're laying there like wondering why the paramedics are looking at you and your shoulder hurts.
Why did I go so far? It's like, well, now I tried to jump 1.5 and I plowed right into the side of it. That's what's happening with your compressor.
Okay.
So when the belt gets thrown off, is it still intact?
Yeah, it's still intact, and I just go down, crawl under there, and put it back on, and it works.
Yep.
Huh. Because that
works good when it works.
Because that tensioner and that belt on those sits really close down to the frame too.
Could knock on the frame.
Yeah, so
in some cases,
but that would cut it more than likely.
Yeah, you'd hear the tensioner.
If a motor mount was bad or something like that, there's not a lot of clearance there.
We've had some people come in thinking their engine was knocking, and I was like, "No, it's your AC." It's like, "How do you know it's my AC?" It's like, "Well, one, it only does it when your AC's on." Well, no, I got it on defrost.
Still works.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Craig, thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Jim in New Jersey. Jim, you're on the Under the Hood show. What can we do for you?
Hey guys, great show.
Thank you.
I've got an old 02 Chevy Suburban that just sits in the driveway all the time, and I keep a battery maintainer on it. And I had to move it the other day, and I went to start it. Battery was dead, and so I charged it up for a while, got it started, ran it for a couple hours, moved it over, and now when I go to start it, battery's dead. I charge it up, then I try to give it some auxiliary help with another battery that's fully charged or a jump pack. As soon as I hook the battery back up, all kinds of clicking starts going on. The headlights come on by themselves. The dinging in the dashboard starts without even the key on or a switch on. And I go to try to start it, and I get that rapid click, like the battery is just on life.
We know that click.
I think your battery just got a short in it. It's shot. I mean, because we had the same thing when Russ took my Trans Am out here the other day. I've had a maintainer on it, not that old of a battery, and that battery just failed.
And it just went click, 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 click.
And it still had a little juice in it, and you could sometimes get I've had that with another vehicle before too. You can get enough on it where it'll start it up, but then it's just dead as soon as you think, okay, that's good. I got it running now. It should charge back up. But that's my first instinct.
And you can have all sorts of electronic issues going on when a battery is not fully charged and fully operational.
Because the circuits
even the headlights.
Yes.
Even the headlights coming on by themselves.
Yeah, because you've got a body control module that is controlling those functions, and if it does not see the right voltage, it's going to get all wacky. It's not going to know what to do. It can go into a state of, hey, something's weird. We need a fully charged battery. We need a reset. We need to take all the power away and then apply the correct amount. Because if you got a charger on a battery that's completely dead, you can get too many volts in it. A charger, if you just hook it up to a voltmeter without being hooked to a battery, can put out 20 volts. So you hook it to a battery, it puts out the correct amount. It's balanced. It needs
the battery's the filter for the system.
Yeah. So, if you're replacing the battery, AGM batteries are a great way to make sure that a battery, if you're going to store a car a long time, has the power it needs and keeps that stored properly. They're good for the cars with all today's electronics.
Jim, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Find us on radio, YouTube, Facebook, and podcast by searching Under the Hood Show.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Larry. You're on the Under the Hood show, Larry. What can we do for you?
Is this Chris?
It is. It's Chris and Russ and Shannon.
Yeah, I was scanning the TV channels here a while back, and I seen where you did your exit interview and you're leaving the radio station.
Oh, yeah. That was
Yeah,
that was a while ago. Memorable.
right. What I was calling about was these Miranda vehicles, and their base price is $22,000. I was just wondering if them guys knew anything about them.
Oh, the Mahindras, like the Jeep
Yeah.
copy and all that stuff?
Are you looking at the tractor or the sport utility that they make?
Vehicle.
When I looked at, the base price was $22,000.
So, like, it looks like a Jeep, kind of?
I know what he's talking about. I just trying to figure out if he's talking about the tractor or
Right.
the Jeep.
No, a Jeep. It looks like a Jeep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tractors are fine. The thing about these Mahindra vehicles, you're gonna have to really watch carefully and make sure that they're going to stay legal to drive on the road in whatever state you register them in. They are starting to. I know in Texas they've pulled the little tiny cars off the road, and I think that's one of them. There's certain ones
I don't think
that
they're
don't
built to be street legal at all, are they?
So a lot of them, they made, if you watch movies and you see them driving around these things that look like Jeeps and stuff to haul people around that look like a giant golf cart, those are Mahindras, a lot of them, like an old Volkswagen type thing. But they are starting to ban a lot of vehicles if they are not fully federally certified, both safety and emissions wide. They are not letting you register these anymore. And there's a lot of people I've had a lot of people write into the show saying, can you talk about this on the air so we can make sure that we can have the legal right to use our vehicles on the road anymore? And it's like, well, that is an issue for you to take up with your local authorities. We're not going to get involved in that because there's a lot of things involved with cars. Now, these may be perfectly legal. I don't know. You're going to have to find out, and that'll be with the title and the emissions sticker on the vehicle. But as far as the car itself goes, for on or off-road vehicle, when you're driving it, I've driven a couple of them. They're pretty neat little vehicle, but it wouldn't be my choice for a daily driver.
What when you were buying this, what's the impression? You know, there we go. We may not. Russ has been on these things. I've looked at them at the dealership in town and walked by them and thought, hey, they look pretty neat. And I know Mahindra as a brand,
they make great tractors.
They've built good things. I
Yeah.
think their manufacturing processes are solid. What is this one being presented as something you can take on the street, or is it being presented as something you use on a farm and ranch?
I just heard them advertised, and I stopped and looked at them, and I would probably drive it on the road.
Yeah, you'll have to check with them just to see how they're presenting it. You know,
They're built, or they're what they are is like a Razor or an Arctic Cat, right? I mean, like a utility vehicle. They're not built to be street legal.
Well,
but you can buy kits at a sports shop.
They
that
build
would
them street
legalize
legal. I mean, they build them with they will give you a package if you outfit it that way. When you purchase it, you can get it with the options of headlights, horn.
Right, but not
tires.
from Mahindra, from the
Right.
dealer that you're
Right,
buying it from,
right.
like you're buying a golf cart.
Exactly, because it's more of a
and
like
then you need a local ordinance in your area to allow that.
allow it. So it's more like a like a Razor. It's more like a farm utility vehicle, like a Gator or something.
Yeah.
That's what it's originally for. But people are running them, and more states are now outlawing that type of vehicle. So where we're at, you can still currently get a license plate to hang on your four-wheel ATV if you do some modifications. There are other states I know of where I have people that have worked in legal stuff, and as an example of somebody's driving down the road and they run into one of those vehicles, four-wheeler, and it was the person's fault who ran into them with a motor vehicle that was regularly licensed and hit one of these licensed four-wheelers. Well, the person in the four-wheeler was the one who got the fault, not the person whose fault it was, because when it went to court, they said, this vehicle has a sticker right on the front, and they showed the photo of it, said this vehicle is not legal for sale or use for public roads. It's not equipped for emissions or safety. So did it have the ability to stop and get out of the way of people? I mean, all those things can happen. So there's just a lot of things that I get real nervous when I'm looking to get something that I'm going to own for a while. If there's a possibility I wouldn't be able to drive it down the road, would you buy any car, Chris, if you thought I might not be able to drive it on the road in 7 years?
Depends where my budget is at. If it's just a toy or if it's something that
Right.
you know I'm putting my last $20,000 out there to buy it.
Exactly.
I'm at the Villages. That's my big plan. So maybe.
When you're in Florida, Texas, Arizona, you see those things all over the place.
Let me jump
at the
in real
retirement
quick.
communities.
I just searched, is the Mahindra Roxor street legal? And amongst other things, one of the websites starts with, do you live in South Dakota or Montana? Yes or no? And then you go to a different spot. Larry, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Chicago and talk to Alan. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Alan, what can we do for you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I enjoy your show.
Thank you.
My dad and I have been working on a 56 F100 for a couple years now, and we've almost got everything back together. We had trouble. It was so rusty inside. We ended up putting a new camshaft in. Now, I added some Lucas oil treatment for the flat tappet cams. What do I need to do to break in the cam? Or is that something I don't do on this old, it's a 6-cylinder?
Yeah, that old of an engine, I'm going to be using something like a Joe Gibbs racing oil or a non-synthetic conventional oil in that engine with a additive. Now, if you've got Lucas additive or, that might contain the zinc or ZDDP that you need. I do not know. But if it doesn't, you definitely need something like the Justice Brothers heavy-duty vehicle, something that has the friction modifier like the ZDDP zinc replacement in it, or you will wear out the camshaft with the pressure in there. It's, the Justice Brothers, they have a little machine they run stuff on that you can see, what the friction is, and that is one thing that'll reduce that. But as far as breaking it in, on an old one like that, if it's all brand new, you're probably going to follow the cam manufacturer's instructions. It's probably going to want you to run a certain RPM for a certain number of minutes to break that thing in.
And this vehicle definitely qualifies as a Berkeley One Classic. And don't tell us the color. We're going to guess that this 56 Ford F100, for me, this is a basic white today. What do you think, Chris?
I'll go red.
It's a dark maroon.
Dark maroon. Alan, what color is the F100?
Originally, it was mountain mist green or meadow mist green, but now it's just blue.
Blue.
Okay.
All right. Stay on the line, Alyssa. We'll get your phone number and your name and address and size so we can send you a hoodie from Berkeley One Classics.
I'm very glad that we just all got it wrong. We even had 2 chances and we all got it wrong. I like
It's
the
blue.
ones that are
blue.
That are just straightforward. I like the ones where there's no gradient or anything where we can argue it. It's just straightforward.
Well, it's blue on the bottom. It's gray in the middle.
I was going to go two-tone, but when he said it
top.
was a 6-cylinder, like, no, basic, probably just a straight color.
Hour 2 is coming up. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturdivants.
You're listening to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show with the Motor Medics, Shannon Nordstrom and Russ the Super Tech Evans. Shannon is an ASE engine and parts specialist, and Russ is an ASE Master Certified Technician with extensive factory drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions. Let me try that again. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Well done. Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. You were gone for a week, and your voice is a little raggedy. Let me take a guess. Brian Adams got my first real 6-string. Is that what did it? Or outfield? Josie's on a vacation far away.
I don't think either one of them came on.
Okay.
But
Sweet Caroline.
There were others.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly all the others. We were just in a euphoric moment with our daughter's wedding. And so we had a fun time. And we're back in the saddle again, trying to get my work life rearranged because it's been a crazy couple weeks. But couldn't be happier, couldn't be prouder of Mr. and Mrs. Maxwell Nielsen. They are currently...
Eminem.
It's still Eminem. When she was born, I didn't say this during my speech, but when she was born, we figured she'd be strong enough to take on the acronym MEN, Madison Elizabeth Nordstrom. Mm-hmm. She's still Madison Elizabeth Nordstrom, Nielsen. So she's still she's still Men. She didn't get rid of it.
She didn't get out of it.
No. So no, they're in Hawaii, and they did do a Turo rental in the same place that we went to.
Yeah.
And they sent a text, no cockroaches.
Nice.
That was the text that we got. And so they're...
How was it? Walking her down the aisle.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I will say this, that it's a good thing that we had a rehearsal so I could practice crying.
Right. And how what level you needed to maintain.
Walking her down the aisle in rehearsal, I cried a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it did help me for the next day. I'd gotten some of it out, but we had already done before that a first look where they kind of surprised me, and that was pretty emotional.
Yeah.
So I was kind of running out of tears. I was getting to the end.
You're just wrung out by that point.
Yeah, it was just like a rag, just twisted out. But no, it was amazing. It was really, really good. Tammy and I could not be more proud of those kids. They wrote their own personal vows and read them to each other, and they were so. It was just so fun watching them to adore each other, and the faith-filled, loving vows that they wrote to each other were. There wasn't a lot of dry eyes in the wedding venue. It was a very special time. We were very happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Josh. You're on the Under the Hood show. Josh, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, my son's '94 Sierra intermittently brake lights, and I've replaced the brake light switch on the under the dash there, and it's still like last night on the way home. Followed him home, and brake lights at one stoplight and none at the next one, and I'm kind of baffled.
Well, the '94 Sierra uses power goes to the brake light switch. There's an orange wire down there coming to it that's constant power, and then a white wire leaving it, and that runs up to your third brake light on the top of the cab, and then it splits off and it runs to your rear tail lights. It has separate turn signals in the rear and tail, so it doesn't go through the turn signal switch on that vehicle. Does the third mount brake light in the cab work all the time?
Yeah, that does every time.
Okay, if that works every time, then your switch is working down there. You've got to have another problem, either a short coming out of that thing or something.
In '94, do they still use the circuit board on the taillight in the back?
Mm-hmm. They did 88 up, and you might have a problem with it, but both of them out at the same time is odd. One, yes.
And they come back at the same time too?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have to find out where you're losing that power. And I'm trying to think. I think the splice for that is in the driver's side kick panel down low. I've got the same truck wiring. I think it came to the switch and then down from there. It splits. It goes down that white wire there's two white wires. You got one white wire.
Yeah.
It's for the dome light, and the other white wire is for the brake light power as it splits off and goes down. You'll see at the switch there'll be two wires there.
Yeah. And it goes through the kick board by in the door jamb there.
Everything goes through that, and then that kick panel will get water in it and rust from snow and stuff on your feet. So you're going to get some rust in there. So if the truck is rusty already, you might have one of those wires corroded down there, and it might just not be.
Well, it's not a bad looking truck. There's not a lot of rust, but he did wire speakers through there, and I see he put self tappers in that thing.
Oh, yeah, that might. So one of them might be cut.
That's probably his issue. Yeah.
It's got LED tail lights on it.
No.
Okay.
Nope. He put speakers under his seat in the back seat, and I know he run them wires through that.
Yeah, we all did.
I was just Chris. I think you and I were both doing the same thing there. We were just, as Russ was visualizing this, we were just looking at him.
Yeah,
because you could just see him looking at the wiring diagram and the truck.
He followed it with his eyes where the wire went,
and we were just watching and marveling as he was doing that.
Yeah,
that was cool.
If you had
watch YouTube.
If you had on a Quest and some gloves, you could actually probably fix that truck from far away. Just get a robot in there, like the surgery. You know how they do in Antarctica.
We're going to send our Tesla robot Gen 3 to your house to work on your car, and we'll just sit there from our office and do repairs.
Yeah.
Won't even get dirty.
If you don't find anything else going on there, see if it's got an aftermarket taillight adapter for a trailer plug or something back there that could be getting junked up with corrosion, that kind of stuff. But I think you might be onto something.
Josh, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Mississippi and talk to Tony. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Tony, what can we do for you?
Yeah, I have a 2008 Nissan Titan that's got like 270,000 miles on it. Just to like pull in my trailer and things. I don't do a lot of driving on the highway with it, but I was using it about a week and a half ago. Pulled into my driveway and turned it off, and then a week later I go out there to get in it, and the engine just turns over. It doesn't try to start or anything. It turns over real fast, but it doesn't even make a hint like it's trying to start. And it was fine when I parked it. I just wondered if you had an idea, because I guess I'd have to have it towed somewhere if you had an idea of something I could do before I had to tow it or something.
I'd start with finding out if your fuel pump's running. Take the gas cap off and have somebody turn the key on to run while you're listening into that fuel tank and see if you hear the pump run at all. It might be just as simple as
I've done that.
Pump.
I could hear that.
You hear it buzzing?
Yes.
And it does have gas in it. It doesn't have a broken gas gauge or something, does it?
Well, no, it's got a half a tank and it works.
Well, if it's got fuel pressure at the engine and you're cranking it and it's not doing anything, then you're going to have to find out. You're going to put a scanner on it and find out if it's got an RPM signal from the crankshaft. So it's telling it to turn the injectors on and fire the plugs. If it doesn't have a crank signal and RPM signal, it's not going to fire those and it won't start. It'll just crank forever. That's our next step, was we'd plug a scanner into it, and whether you have to get a little Bluetooth scanner for your phone or whatever to see that, you're going to need that, or you're going to have it towed in and looked at.
If you wanted to cheat a little bit just for fun, you could take a small blast of starting fluid or something and just, hit the air horn and just see if it fires. And if it did, that would tell you that you are not getting fuel, even though you hear it.
It'll probably fire and not go, right? Or it might go.
It just might give you a little sign of life, kind of, and it give you some sign of life, and that would be a really good indication. You could pull a spark plug wire off and put a plug in there and just lay it down and see if you're getting spark. That's some cheating ways. It still works that way sometimes on these cars, but
I have a feeling Tony's not going to do either of those. He's not.
You think he's going to call
Tony?
I think he's going to get out a spray can of.
I'm pretty mechanical. I can pretty much fix everything that's ever happened to it, but. Somebody told me that it could possibly be my chip in my key. Would that do it?
No,
because I know when it's cranking,
wouldn't crank.
There's a vehicle with a key in it.
Well, that Nissan system, you got a little signal going there, but usually that system's kind of in check mode as you're trying to start it. Trying to say, okay, I'm trying to start. And as soon as it's done, it'll go through its self-test to make sure that's all okay. But, maybe the Nissan does something different in that era. I don't think so, though. You could try a different key if you have a second key.
It wouldn't crank.
Yeah, I don't think it would crank at all.
Shuts the starter down.
Yeah, so it wouldn't turn over at all.
Nope. No, right. If you've got a can of starting fluid, just give it not a big blast, just a little bit in the air horn, and then see if it pops a little bit.
Tony, good luck. Thanks for the call. I'm sorry for the implication. I didn't mean to. I just took it. I didn't think that was a level he was going to go to. That's all.
I
Gullickson's
differently.
08 Titan security wooden crank. Wrong key.
There you go.
We're going to take
key.
a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150. You're listening to The Under the Hood Show.
Want to know what these guys are really about? Take a look under the hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Saw a headline and a little bit of a news story about a lawsuit over vehicle data. Texas, I believe.
Yeah, Paxton down there has been very aggressive to protect the people of Texas on many issues. We could get into some really deep political stuff if I go too far with that
Good idea.
name. But,
Yeah, let's.
But they took suit for the residents of Texas because it is alleged that General Motors in this case, and I'm going to guess there's going to be other manufacturers at some point named, who knows, guessing, but potentially selling some of the data out of the telemetric system to insurance companies.
Telemetrics being OnStar or anything
So they could tell where you went, when you went there, what speed you went to get there, how fast you stopped, how slow you stopped. Basically the things that they try to voluntarily get you to put into your car to get better insurance rates.
Was your seatbelt on or not? Were you speeding?
It's things like that. And so they've, big news lawsuit that I just saw pop out too. I saw that same headline. So I don't know all the details, but you know, you'd like to think that a big company like GM has thought that through.
Yeah. And
they believe they have some legal ground to stand on because
it
wasn't like Bob would say, "Hey,
You probably checked a box somewhere when you bought the vehicle that said we can share with our partner companies or
it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out. This could be a landscape setting lawsuit."
When I saw the story, my first thought was, of course they are. But that's a defeatist modern day attitude. When we talked about this originally, I mean, when this was 20 years ago, when this was all becoming an issue, it was theoretical and no one was going to do it. And now the thing that surprised me, or maybe not, it doesn't surprise me at all, is that they actually are drilling down in some cases to specific people to look at if you go apply for, and this is across manufacturers, across even not vehicles necessarily,
right?
But where it used to be, they might sell the info in aggregate as a big giant block of data.
Yeah, to say that in South Dakota, people drive historically 15 miles an hour over the speed limit.
And they've done that. There's hail damage. They sell that info to the insurance companies so they can
set
decide
their comprehensive claim rates
Exactly.
and things like. To me, that's fair game.
But I suppose it's super easy now to drill right down, so why not drill all the way down? And
that's the way when people are all screaming. I would say it's safe to say that everyone is screaming about how high insurance rates are going.
The call I took before I came into the studio was about business insurance.
Yep, and
it's a problem right now.
And if they say, well, all businesses in this state they're at this much risk. It's just an average. But this one is taking extra care. Look how low we are. Oh, you're right. Let's lower your rate. So if they can use that, if they can show me they're lowering my rate because I'm a good driver or I don't do this or I do this, that's great. They can have that data because my brother always says, well, I don't have anything to hide. They can record anything they want, the Amazon, whatever. Great. And I feel the same way. It's like I don't think I'm doing anything that's out of the ordinary. But then there are some people out there. All you have to do is look around as you drive, and boy, it's like how do they even get insurance?
Absolutely.
And they add to that rate. They add to the rate when the costs are so high on these new cars. And when you look around and you go through any car lot right now and look at the prices on cars, and then imagine that you just ran into one of those.
Yeah. I just think I have a 20-year-old car that we still have full coverage on. I didn't do that 20 years ago, because it's still worth too much money.
Yeah, exactly.
You pull out at an intersection and you happen to T-bone a new King Ranch Power Stroke Platinum Ford truck. you better not have the state minimum liability because you can't pay for the truck.
No kidding.
They're gonna be hitting you for the extra of what's the state minimum? Is it 50,000 or is it 75,000 or 100,000?
That's a good question. I don't know.
None of those will pay for that King Ranch pickup.
Right.
What if you're in the drive-through at McDonald's and you're not paying attention and you roll forward a foot and go, I just barely bumped into the back of that 24 GMC Sierra with a multi-pro tailgate. It's just a little ding. Just a little ding that's going to cost you.
Yeah, between the bumper and the tailgate, you got $7,000.
Yeah.
I know a guy who can put like vinyl on it and make it look like there's no. Right.
I still had to buy a panel. I had to buy a part.
Let's talk to Martin in Utah. You're on the Under the Hood show. Martin, what can we do for you?
Hey, good morning, guys. Appreciate the service you provide. A lot of people are quite grateful to you guys.
Well, thanks for listening.
2000. Oh yeah, I love it. It's a 2016 Jeep Patriot, and I'm having some problems with it. It's my daughter's car, and you're going down the road, and it will kind of sputter a little bit, and sputter a little bit more, then pick up again. And I'm not sure. We did the camshaft sensor, and a couple other little things, but the problem has not gone away. And I was wondering if you had some kind of direction for me. Where can I start on that thing? 4-cylinder.
Just as you drive it, how long has this been going on?
Oh gosh, she's had it for about a year, and pretty much the whole time. I don't have a lot of access to it, and I don't see her that often, but every time I ride with her, it's still happening. I'm telling her, look, get it checked out. She's talked to a couple people, but I'm just not finding people that are as knowledgeable as you guys are. So I thought I'd give you guys a try.
Thank you, Martin.
There are people out there that are much more knowledgeable than I am.
Well, I think the SAE or whatever certification makes you guys a step above a lot of the other mechanics that I come in contact with.
You keep thinking that, Martin. We appreciate it.
Yeah. I think there's one person in the room that this qualifies for, and his name is Russ. So this is a little 2.4 liter engine in there, I believe, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it has got in that Jeep Patriot, they did not use the multi-air, I don't think. But there's a couple of different things going on in that engine that could be making it act funky. So do you got any check engine lights on? Or does she?
And no, and the I think when they put the meters on it, nothing shows up.
That's the problem right there. So no matter what shop you take it to, if you had a way to find the smartest mechanic in the entire world with the most knowledge across Jeep Patriots, and you took it to them and it didn't act up, they would have no clue what's going on. They have no way to decide where to even start. That's like walking into the doctor's office and the doctor says, "Oh, Mr. Smith, I see you have a problem, but it says on your chart you have a problem." Yes, I have a problem. What's wrong with me? Well,
yeah. I have two questions real quick. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm thinking it may be something to do with fuel. Now, I'm not sure if it has an inline filter or if there's only
it's in the tank.
One in the tank
with the pump.
Well, it's only got 80,000 miles on it.
Probably
so
not
I'm
bad.
wondering...
They usually go 200 before they clog up. If they're really poor quality fuel, 125 to 150, but I've never seen one clogged at less than 125.
We're going to run up on a break here, but let's just ask a couple more questions. If this is doing the problem, will it do it on every drive?
Yes, but not consistently. I'd say if she drove 8 miles, it would happen probably 2-3 times.
If it can be duplicated in a 10-mile test drive consistently, then a technician can hook equipment up to it and drive it. But
multiple times.
It comes at a risk of saying, "Hey, I may drive this and it may not act up and I may not record anything." But if they can record things and look at fuel trims and look at what's happening when those blips occur, then you've got a wonderful chance of figuring it out.
Otherwise, it's not going to be economical to find it.
Yep. So
Right.
I think if it can consistently do it, then I think you've got a really good chance of having somebody hook their equipment to it, and drive the vehicle and find out what's happening. Is it dropping fuel? Is it dropping spark? Is it misfiring between two cylinders? But most of that would do a check engine light, but you've got something that's failing within range, or it's in the base systems before it gets to the computer system, which would be like fuel or power's dropping out a little bit or that sort of a thing. So that's what you need to do.
866-594-4150. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you.
Look, up in the sky. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No. And who cares? We're down here, driving cars. This is Under the Hood.
866-594-4150. That's the phone number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel, and if you subscribe to that, which we hope you do, and click the like button, at least on an episode, and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Jack Oberling, congratulations from everybody here under the hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, UTI.edu, and Berkeley One Classics, your key to collector car insurance.
Let's talk to Dan. Dan, you are on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Well, I have a question about some possible maintenance. I've got a 61 American Motors Rambler convertible. It's got an automatic transmission. It works, but a few years ago, and this car's been in storage, the oil would start leaking out the back of it. So to solve that, I would park the vehicle rear tires on some blocks to keep it from draining out the back. Now, I'm told that there's a leather seal in the back of that transmission that might have dried out. Is that true, or I'm just trying to figure out how to stop it? Do I drive it more? Do I have to replace it? What would I do?
It's been a long time since I've looked at a transmission on a Rambler. Even looked at it. Oh, look, it's a transmission for a Rambler.
I haven't even thought of one.
But if I remember right, that seal that's in the back, I think there's an upgrade to where you can keep that seal in there, but you can put a one piece seal behind it, because originally it was just like a rope type seal. But if you take it apart, you can put a regular seal in there, like a regular, O-ring type, like a seal, put that in there, and then you put it back together so it looks like it's got a seal in it. So like I have a Model T, and they always leak oil out the front. They were just designed that way. They just leak. They want to, lubricate the ground while you drive it. They're made that way, like an old Harley. But
less friction, more speed.
Don't need to change the oil.
The seal
it's always new.
Doesn't go on the outside, but when I took it apart, I put the seal on the inside. So now it seals the oil from even getting to that rope seal on the front. So it looks factory, but it's really not. And there's no other way to do it. So it's not like you're trying to make it look original. It just can't be done. But it's zero leakage on that now. And people go, why is it not leaking? Is it out of oil? It's like the way you check a Harley. If it's not leaking, it's out of oil, right? An old one. So same way with this. And I can't remember if that Rambler, doesn't that have a rear pump in it? Shannon, do you remember? Rear pump on those? You push them and they will turn the engine over if you push too fast.
I think they might, now that you say that.
They may. And if it's that, then it's got a pump seal back there, which it has that rope seal. But yeah, I think there is an upgrade for that seal, if I remember somewhere.
You could enlist the services of, there's a few transmission shops in our town that the people have been there a long time. I think a JAG Automatic. Todd down there he's got knowledge on this, I bet.
Yeah, he might know that.
He's retired, but I seem to catch him at the shop a lot.
Otherwise, this could be a YouTube thing too on that rear seal. But I think there's an upgrade for it, because your two choices are either going to be, if you drive it more, that will help. If you park it nose down, that will help. But if it's a leak when you shut it off, I bet it's a rear pump, because they'll leak all the time if it's a front pump. But if it's a rear pump, it's going to leak when you...
Dan, you're from our town. Was this car originally purchased in our town?
No, it's bought in Watertown.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I was going to do our Berkeley Classic guess here, because this is a Berkeley Classic, and say that it was black and it probably has a Holland Anderson sticker on the back. But I'm wrong.
It's probably
I'm going with black though.
Black.
It's probably that kind of rose silver color.
Oh yeah. I'm going with a blue. What color is the Rambler, Dan?
It's bright red.
We
Bright
all missed
red.
again.
Huh.
2 in a row.
for a day.
It's a repaint, isn't it?
Is it repainted?
It was probably a rose. I repainted it. I don't think it was repainted. I repainted it in about 78, 79.
Okay.
So,
That's old enough to
Are you
count.
hoping to claim it?
No, I'm
okay.
just...
He heard rose and his face went to an immediate.
I heard red, and I thought, a red Rambler, red 61 Rambler. I'm thinking, I don't remember a bright red, but I'm not that old. I don't remember all the red.
I'll give you a check mark for getting rose versus red. That puts him in the lead over
100%.
6-0.
He's way ahead of black.
Dan, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Hot Springs, South Dakota, and talk to Denny. You're on the Under the Hood show. Denny, what can we do for you?
Well, I had to tell you something about. I was over at Brandon, South Dakota, and I was heading back to Hot Springs, and everything was going great. My 2003 town car, and just as I was coming into Rapid, I ran over something that looked like a dead snake, and just as I was heading up a hill towards going to 70 on Highway 79, heading south to Hot Springs, my car started getting hot, and it was really getting hot. And I stopped at several places to try to get some water to put in the radiator, and it would last just a little while, and it'd get hot again. It just kept doing that. I had to stop about 3 or 4 times, and I came to this ranch place, and I couldn't find any water there. Nobody was home. It was an abandoned house. And I finally got some water out of the stock tank and went a little bit further and got hot again. It just kept getting hotter and hotter all the time. And I finally made it home, but the car was getting hot so often I figured I'd run over, ruin the engine in the thing, and the next morning I called my friend that works on cars a lot and took it up to his house, and he went through it. We thought maybe it was a fuse, and it wasn't a fuse, and he said the fan motor's running, but the fan's not turning. So he shut it off and dug down in there around the fan housing, and he pulled out this piece of rubber that looked like it was about 1.5 feet long and about a 1/2 inch wide. He twisted up and
like a
snake. He sucked the rubber snake into his fan assembly. The fan started working again. It didn't burn it out.
It wasn't the snake. It was a piece of rubber.
No, it was a rubber snake. No, it was just some sort of piece of rubber. But then the fan started working again. It didn't kill the fan.
No, the fan started working as soon as he pulled that out.
We used to get these town cars, the 03s. They would get stuck in snowbanks and they would freeze that fan. And they've got some protection to them, and they're a breaker, and they would stop, and then they would thaw out, and they would start working. So I can see how that works.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah,
That's always what I
gotta tell you,
wanted to
Denny.
be.
I if I'm going to need to pick somebody in a survival contest, I think you're on my list.
Your luck is just
stopping
right
at
there.
vacant places and getting water out of the stock tank, and I mean, he's going after it.
Unfortunately, it's haunted now. His car, there's a passenger
that
in
thing
the back.
has been going forever, because I think the first time we heard from Denny was like how long have you had this car? Because I think the first time you called us, it was like 6 or 7 years old, and it was just starting to have some issues.
Yeah, I just bought it for my cousin in 2014.
Okay.
And
so 10 years.
That's 10 years ago.
Yeah. That's what I want it to be. Every time I bring my car to you, I want you to just pull out a piece of rubber and go, oh, this was jammed in there. It's fine
There's
now.
a snake in my boots.
Denny, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. I'm glad you got the call and Brag.
It's
does sound
alive.
fun. It sounds fun to drive 6 hours home, and in the last hour, it takes you another 6 hours.
I'm lucky. He's fortunate. He did not kill the engine.
Let's talk to Zach in Texas. Zach, you're on the Under the Hood show. What can we do for you?
Yeah, I just bought a 2019 F250 with the 6.7, and I know nothing about taking care of a diesel.
So why did you buy it?
Yeah. What's your problem?
Wanted a diesel.
I wanted a diesel. No, I travel for work, and I'm constantly driving, so I was trying to get an engine with better longevity.
Do you pull things when you're traveling, or you got heavy loads, or?
Just a bed full of tools.
Heavy enough that an F250 makes sense, or did you
We're not trying to question you, but we're questioning you.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. If you can afford the truck and you are okay with the maintenance, that's going to be a lot more money when it needs to be done.
I have an indelicate question.
Good deal.
We've already asked 3 of those.
How much was it?
38,000.
No.
40, yeah, 40,000.
40,000.
Okay.
I was thinking if you say 45.
I got 2 Ford guys in the shop that are constantly looking,
Okay,
like
all
every
right,
day.
all
Oh,
right.
look, there's a good deal on this Ford with the
Yeah, I guess you do.
Yeah, they're looking. They're actually not too bad. The dualies and stuff. The prices on those.
So where does
1920
Zach start with this thing?
Well, you change the oil, but you got to pay attention to the fuel filter. That is the single most important item on that whole truck. Probably is the fuel filter. It's but power the whole fuel system revolves around it. So change that when recommended. It's got to be done, and you're going to be running a lot of fuel through it if you're on the road. But that truck, we do see a lot of these on the highway. Most of them have a tuner in them, not to give you extra towing, but to give you a little extra mileage. So if you're just cruising down the road, the mileage can be pretty good on one of these with a tuner set at the right setting, because you got a big truck. It's more efficient, especially with the tuner on it, and you don't have a big load on it. You're not pulling a camper with it. You just got the tools in the back end. So you set the cruise and you go. And a lot of people do that. They want that for that longevity. I mean, you can get the same thing out of a gas, but that gas engine at highway speeds is going to use a lot of fuel. So you've got to consider diesel fuel right now. It seems to be pretty similar to the cost of gasoline, just a few cents difference, at least in our area and some other places I've traveled recently. But you're going to use less of it than gasoline.
But we do want you to consistently use a fuel additive
every tank,
as you're
every
going
single
through there
tank
for the lubricity and the protection of the fuel system and the inconsistencies in the fuel supply.
It's like running ZDDP with an old engine that you need it for cam protection. You got to run this or you're going to kill those injectors.
Yeah, we use the Justice Brothers diesel fuel additive in our stuff, and like what we have contracted to come to our business, the person we get it from has a very good additive package that he puts in the fuel that gets delivered to us. It's very, very important to keep consistent fuel, and that's where the filter and the fuel quality, those are things you didn't think of often driving around in a gas truck.
Right.
And like I said, these trucks will get great fuel economy going down the road. You got some beef, you got some protection, and you'll have a lot of fun with it. You got a lot of power. If you do want to hook a trailer, no problem. But when they break, everything is times 5.
Yep.
Or more.
Yeah.
So just be prepared for that.
And you can actually break it by accident by not.
Yeah. So
that's
why
a good call.
That's why we question people getting diesels if they really need them or not, based on what they do. But being out on the highway, having this thing up to operating temperature all the time, given a chance to burn all the crud out of the system with all the coolers that they've got and everything, that's a good place for it.
Zach, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Be sure to visit our website for news, contests, and previous shows at underthehoodshow.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to get back under the hood with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Florida and talk to David. You're on the Under the Hood Show. David, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call here.
You bet.
I got a 2008 Ford Taurus with about 150,000 on it. I've had it for about the last 35,000 on it, and I had this problem starting about a year ago that happened like once a month. But for the last month, it's been happening every time I drive it. It's a daily driver. when I put it on the actual conditions. The conditions are like going between 45 and 70, normally going down a highway, constant throttle, like straight and level road, and I start going up a small incline, like over an overpass, because that's basically all we have here in Florida for hills, right?
Yeah.
Start going over going over a overpass with a constant throttle. I hear a clunk. Happens one clunk, not multiple ones. I can hear it and feel it. And it won't happen again for another 10 miles until I start going over maybe another overpass. But I can almost force it now. That's how often it happens now. And I do my own fluids, AMS once a year on a trainee, and in the engine too. So I've had it into a shop that I've been into many times before. They hooked it up to the IDS, Ford system, and came back with no problem found. That's a dilemma that I'm in now. I'm really starting not to trust it, on long drives.
It kind of sounds like it's got an ignition system problem, like it's got coil packs or something that are starting to wear out, because if you put it under a load and start to go up a hill, it will do that. And as the resistance builds up from the cylinder pressures and heat going up, then you could have that arc in there, and it may not set a misfire code. If it's so random and so few and far between, it might just miss and give you you can feel the whole car shake.
Car's got enough miles on it, you're gonna get some motor mount flex and things like that.
It's gonna. Chris got a car, when it misfires a little bit, it sounds like it's gonna explode. He's like, my engine's bad. He's like, no, it's not your engine. It's just parts clanging as it misses. It's fine. I'll bet that's what's going on. You probably got that going on. If you drive it for the next, let's say, drive it around for the next month. Just set a date and say, okay, here we are at the end of August. Just, set a date. And as you start to go up a hill it's in an overdrive where it normally does this, shift the shifter down one gear so it drops down a gear. If you're going so slow that one gear doesn't do it that you need to, go two, just so the engine RPM picks up. And if you drive up the top of that overpass and put it back in drive, and it's fine. If it never does it again, that's what's going on. I think you've got that, because if you increase the speed of the engine, you reduce the load and you make it up with speed. You're trading your airspeed for altitude. So what you're doing is you're letting that engine rev up. It's like pedaling a bike uphill. He's like, oh, I'm struggling. I'm in 10th gear. Well, shift it down to third gear. Oh, well, that's nice and easy. There's no load there. Your engine's complaining.
This transmission doesn't give you that opportunity, though, right? It just has a D and low in it.
Does not have an 08 Taurus.
That's a CVT.
It's a
No, it's 6 speed.
No, it doesn't have a shift lever on it to change the gears.
Correct. Yeah, well, it does.
We looked this up 2 weeks ago. It was
drive,
Well, you're right. You have the drive in M, but don't you have a button to change the gears manually on it? Electronically?
Never done that before.
Yeah, see if there's another button, because a lot of those that have, if it says D and then look at the shifter levers. So if it says it's a floor shift, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So when you put it in D, on the left side where you push the button in,
don't do it while you're driving.
Is there a button that says plus minus on the side of the shifter, like on the handle, that you're with your thumb, you can push plus minus on the side of it?
There definitely is a button here because I'm driving. I can't get the angle with my eyeballs.
Okay.
Definitely is a button here that I've never pressed before.
Yep. So if you put it into that, if you put it down into that M position, one click back towards the rear seat, and then you push up and down on that side button, it should shift the gear down one gear and show on your screen, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're doing a manual shift at that.
Yep. So, and they may have been worn off already. The plus and minus might be worn off. So investigate that and see if that's possible. So put it in M and then kick it down a gear like that and see. Because most transmissions have that. If they've got that, they put them on the steering wheel and a lot of GM cars, and they put them on the shift lever in the Ford and some of the Chryslers.
Does that help you out there, David? To try that?
No, I don't. Torque converter, I don't think is a problem on this car. We just don't see many, but we do see a lot of ignition system issues just because of the age.
David, thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. And I do have to say, I've driven interstates in Florida a couple times for long periods.
Oh.
It is, in my experience, my personal experience, the only place more boring to drive than where we live. I find it because it's more boring because it's about the same elevation as we have, which is none.
You get to look at
It's
stuff.
just flat. And you don't even have to,
Grass,
it's straight and flat.
water
So you can look around if you want. But the interstates down there that I've driven on have a tree line right off the interstate,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a screen so you can't see anything behind it no matter what, ever. Because I always think, there's probably gators over there, the airboats. There's something over there. Oranges.
You think when you're in
I
Florida, you think
stereotypically
of gators and airboats.
Yeah. I'll see someone going past because there's little canals everywhere.
There's got to be an airboat in there, and
You
you just want
figure.
to go see them and
I just
take
want to
a
see
ride.
some stuff. But as opposed to here, where it's very similarly boring, flat, nothing really to look at except farm fields, you can see at least that. But down there, you're screened in, so you're just in and it's not beautiful. They're fine. They're fine trees, and I would like to live amongst them.
Cypress.
But as far as driving alongside them, they're not very exciting. You know what I mean? What was it like? In Texas? What was your landscape up down there?
Heavily wooded. We were in the great piney woods of East Texas, and everything was wooded. You had to cut a driveway through the woods to build a Walmart in the middle of the city. It was just very heavily thick wooded pine and oak everywhere.
That's what
and hilly.
Yeah.
Like the steeper hills than we have here. Not much, but I'm talking about like in the city limits where we have up and downs, bigger up and downs than that, because here we have bigger up and downs, but we've cut them all down because in the name of winter time, we don't want the big steep. So they if you build a parking lot for a mall, you lower that down and raise the lows up. And the highways, every time they rebuild a highway here, they smooth out the hills a little more each time. So, in another couple hundred years, everyone will be flat as a pancake.
Now, Shannon, you grew up here amongst the farmlands of southeast South Dakota
Yes, I
and
have.
southwest Minnesota. Are you about to say that it's not super boring to drive here because you can see farm? Do you think it's very boring here? Because I could see where, as you grew up here, you would be defensive and wrong about
Only
it.
exciting if something changes.
Right. So you also recognize
you look for changes. Like, when did that get there?
Yeah. Okay.
Because otherwise, it's the same.
Okay.
I love driving in the south or in the eastern part of the country, and then in the not northeast, but I'm talking about in the eastern part of the country because there's always new stuff in the mountains. You'll see different housing and different things, and up and down and around. Northeast is really
real quick.
popular.
Next Friday, there is a hybrid and EV training class here. If you're a first responder, a tow operator, go to our Facebook page. I'll put a post up about that. You can check it out. And it's something that's available. We'll be doing it right here at our auto recycling facility.
Thanks for listening to the Under the Hood Show. All right, it's the after show. Thanks to Alyssa for...
Alyssa, you did an amazing job again.
Keep the calls coming.
Yeah, if you want to keep that call coming, we'll jump
She's
on
a
here.
really, really good help. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. And we do have, we got some calls coming in, so we'll take those. Let me just get a couple things going here. All right. 866-594-4150. So you drove a Pacifica for a week.
I did.
How was it?
It was good. I had to remind myself again on how to stow and go seats.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the
Just
stow and
push
go
the
is
button.
awesome. No, they're not electric. These are all they're 2022-3 Pacifica, and it was still.
You didn't opt for the drive it yourself car, the one that drives itself?
No, we needed function over fun in this deal. We had to haul some things. So
You've ridden in a Waymo. Did you see the story about Waymos?
I did not.
I haven't heard a thing since Shannon was talking about the Waymo the last time.
We saw a few Waymos.
It was a hot story because they park the Waymos all in one spot, and then they start bouncing information off each other, and they honk all night. So they have a glitch in it or something where the cars, they hear a honk, they honk back, and so all night there's 70 Waymos in this parking lot,
Beep,
and they're
beep,
all just
beep, beep,
honking.
beep, beep, like people are locking doors.
So that's the Waymo story I saw when I saw the other story about the Texas GM information lawsuit.
Yeah, I have not seen that Waymo story, but yeah, those things are buzzing around Phoenix all over the place. Or at least I saw one, but they were last time we were down there. We got to ride in one. But no, the Pacifica was extremely functional, good to drive van. I'm glad that insurance companies can't rate your rental experiences, or maybe they can.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because I seemed like I forgot how to drive when I was down there. My kids were like, I about ran into somebody at the airport.
They can use your phone.
I turned into somebody almost on the freeway. I thought I was in a turning lane and I wasn't.
Didn't you do that when you were in Hawaii too?
I get really stupid when
You missed a curb, a
in
center?
another town.
I just like walking through a doorway, as my sister says, and it's like this. You forget everything.
I will say I do that too because I'm trying to enjoy the thing I'm doing too. I'm trying to enjoy the area I'm in. So there are a lot of times when I'm driving and I'm just like, oh, look at that building over there. And my wife's like, yeah, that's where you were supposed to turn. Oh,
I just, being gone for this wedding, it was wonderful. But the one thing when we're down there and I'm driving around, I look and I think of, oh my goodness, our dismantlers and mechanics and everybody would be so happy if these were the cars we worked on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There is no corrosion. I know I've said this before. You look at the stoplight at the pickups ahead of you, the rear end housings are all still factory colors. And
they might be 30 years old.
And the bodies on these cars don't have the swell up of rust in the cab corner and the fenders and over the box wells. Everything just looks like
maybe some faded paint.
Everything looks fresh and new. And so I'm just sad when I see how nice the vehicles are down there. I don't know how my wife said, she was, okay, you've said that 5 times now,
And you see what I enjoy is when you're in an area of the country like that, you see stuff that you don't see around here. Like somebody might be driving a 1986 Nissan Sentra that's still in fairly decent shape. It's not mint, not a show car, but it's like, it's driving. Look, it's running. Look, an 84 Nissan hardbody, 84 and a half truck. That's
a nice Prelude. That's what
I
saw.
Yeah.
I saw when I was
you'll
down,
see, you'll just see all sorts of stuff. I'm getting ready to take a trip in a couple days, and that place has cars, all sorts of stuff we'll see running around. I'm like, oh, look, I got to get a picture of that because I haven't seen one on the road forever. And it's just odd stuff. People will still be driving around. And then you got some really old, the old ones you don't see much anymore. Like somebody might be driving a 74 Olds Delta 88 or something because that's their car. They found a good deal on it and it still ran and they're driving. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah, it's just fun to see that stuff. And there was where the guys had their Airbnb for the guys in the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Went up there and visited a couple times, and just to the left, it was an older area that houses were kind of getting built out from the backside close to Superstition Mountains. And as I turned down the left side of this little newer housing development, here sits a property, and underneath an older carport with dust thick sits like a 70 Chevelle SS up on a lift, and below it was like a 64 Chevy station wagon. And I really wanted to go look at those cars to see how nice they were, but this guy had the typical gun symbols on his property,
sure. and the little brick fence out front with the gate.
And there was a big American flag, and there was some certain presidential candidate where I didn't want to walk on that property. It was his.
Right.
And he was a proud American with his American medal and his motorhome. I wasn't. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he would have been the nicest guy in the world if I would have asked to see them.
Mm-hmm.
But don't go on that property.
No, I don't
that was not the property that Denny would go get his water out of the stock dam from.
Right.
Or the stock tank. And Denny he should avoid that one.
All right. Anything? What else?
And as we're going by there, my son, Riley says to me, it was a different property going the other direction, and they had the same kind of thing: American flags, certain presidential candidate, gun symbols, warning, and a tractor with a bucket. And we're walking by. Riley goes, "You know what? I've learned in life it's good to be friends with somebody that has a tractor." They're usually helpful, good people. He said, "I want to be friends with somebody with a tractor."
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. All right, that'll do it. I think, huh?
Yeah,
Congratulations to you and your daughter and her family. She's a new family. She doesn't need you anymore at all.
I know it. She changed her name on Instagram way too fast.
Yeah, for sure.
I saw that come across. I was like, oh, Madison.
She didn't put a hyphen in it.
Nope.
Yeah.
She's going all in. These two are they're pretty traditional. So
Alyssa, thanks for handling the business today. She did a great job again.
Yeah, thank you, Alyssa.
All right, that'll do it for the Under the Hood show. Thanks, everybody. If you're watching YouTube right now and you are signed in, I'm not going to expect you to, if you're not signed in, if you're on like a different computer, I don't expect you to log in and click subscribe or like. But if you are logged in, if you're watching on YouTube and you are logged in, you should click like on every time you watch the show on our YouTube channel.
Help us out.
Yeah.
Help us keep helping you.
Please. All right, that'll do it. Thanks, everybody.